Hola, muy buenas tardes. Good evening. My name is Abelardo de la Peña Jr. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications with La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. Welcoming you to En Casa con La Plaza. Special Dan Guerrero happy hour. Dan Guerrero always brings it, and he's going to do it tonight. First of all, before we get started, I'd like to welcome you all. If you're on Zoom, you could use the chat feature to ask questions, make comments, or the Q&A if you'd like. If you're on Facebook, please use the comment section there. Do the same thing. Ask questions, make comments. We welcome interactivity. What's going on at La Plaza? First of all, this Saturday, we have Taco Madness. It's the 14th annual Taco Madness 2023 presented by Bud Light Chelada, where you get to sample a whole bunch of tacos. It's a ticketed event brought by LA Taco, the publication, the online publication that specializes in tacos and other community matters. I'm going to drop their website, their link in the chat, so you could purchase tickets from LA Taco for Taco Madness. That's this Saturday coming up. So we're going to be there. I hope you are too. Finally, the next week, we have Dancing with Dolores fundraiser. That's not this Friday, next Friday night. There with it's celebrating Dolores Huerta's 93rd birthday and her honorary degree of Doctor of Science from the University of Southern California. It's a dance party and concert with Luis Cruz Beltran Latin Jazz Orchestra, and Dolores will be there as well as special guests. So I'm going to drop in it's a ticketed event as well. All funds go to the Dolores Huerta Foundation. So here goes. Please, I hope you click on that and purchase some tickets and support a couple of good causes. All right, here you go. All right, now let's get started with our program. First of all, thanks to our sponsors, Kaiser Permanente and Union Pacific Foundation. They make this all possible. But the one who really makes this possible is our host, Dan Guerrero. Please zoom in, Dan.
Consider me zoomed. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
I thought we were going to see some visuals there with Dolores.
Yeah, we're just going to get into the good stuff.
That sounds like a plan. The woman loves to dance. Dolores is a good dancer.
Oh, yeah. She was trained as a dancer at a young age, or took dance lessons, or
yeah, she wanted to be a dancer, and then, as you know, she went in another direction, but and a very good direction. But we always dance together. If there's one guitar, we dance. If there's an orchestra, we dance. And let me tell you, I've never been so careful holding someone. I don't want her to hurt herself while dancing with me. That would not be a good thing.
Not cool.
So that should be fun. That should be fun. There's a lot going on. I want to give a plug before we go on to the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation, MASEF. They're doing their film and TV festival. I think it may be the third. I don't know which, but this is the 2023 Mexican American Film and Television Festival and Awards, the weekend of May 20th and 21st, right here in Hollywood at the Harmony Gold Theater on Sunset. They're going to have over 50 films and TV shows. A lot of them will have the cast and crews with them, and they're going to be honoring Luis Valdez with a Lifetime Achievement Award as well. They should. So I encourage you to attend the festival. It's really tremendous. They've got a wide variety of all by Mexican-American filmmakers, actors, y todo. I believe you go to the website MexicanAmericanCEF.org and support this festival. If we don't support ourselves, who the hell will?
Exactly. So I posted the website where to buy tickets for the event right there in the chat, and also in the comment section.
So people will be seeing Dolores, he'll be eating tacos, he'll be going to the film festival, they're going to be exhausted. It'll be a good exhaustion though, right?
Yes.
Well, should we get to our guest tonight? Because I'm getting a little horsey here. Okay, I just took a couple of Tums, so.
Well, why don't you lubricate? Salud.
Yeah, this will help, All
right, bye-bye.
Well, I usually intro my guest at this point, but I'm not going to do an intro. I'm going to do more of a little story, okay? This a couple of weeks ago, I found myself driving through an area that I didn't really know at all. And it was a little strange. It was on the outer skirts of the Boyle Heights Arts District. I know Boyle Heights well, but this was different. And there was nobody walking in the streets, no stores, not a sound, no cars, just these buildings, like I think they're production companies. And I thought, well, this is strange. And I was looking for my friend, Jose Mayorguin, very gifted, talented producer, writer, a camera person, does it all. And he invited me to be part of a segment he was doing for Vista LA, long time, very popular program here in LA on ABC. And he was going to do a segment on the Pachuco Supply Company. Well, he had me at Pachuco. So here I am in this strange neighborhood. I finally see him waving. I park, we go into the building, and same thing. Not a peep, not a sound. It's getting a little creepy. And finally, there's a door, little sign, Pachuco Supply Company. And he pushes the door open. I walk in. And I got to tell you, it was, you know what it's like? It was like when Dorothy was in that sad little black and white farmhouse, that crashed to the earth after the tornado. And then she opens the door and it's all Technicolor and it's all magical. And that's what this place was like. The showroom for the Pachuco Supply Company was, I can't even describe. It was like walking into there were no munchkins, but there was something magical going on there. And so tonight we're going to learn about that magic and the art of making hats from the man himself, Gilberto, he answers to either, Márquez. Zoom in.
Zoomed in. Hola,
There
hola.
you are. And you spend all your days in this magical, mystical place.
I do. It's my gilded cage.
In a good way, right?
Yes, of course. No. So oftentimes I am too close to the screen to see the full picture.
I'm sure.
And Gustavo Arellano recently visited and told me, Gil, this is great. How does it feel? Folks are talking about the company. Folks are talking about your hats. And I look down at my hands, I was dyeing some stuff and they're a little dirty and, just a little rough. I was feeling rough that morning and I'm like, I don't know. I work and I go home and I'm just tunnel visioned on this. I don't know what it is, goal, life's work, whatever it is, I'm just tunnel vision on it. And so sometimes I call it the gilded cage, jokingly, for sure, because I feel that to spend so much time there, it would have to be something that you love.
It's a calling, really. It's a calling. There's all kinds of ways. You can be a nun or you can make hats, but it is a calling. Also, who we all love from La Santa Cecilia, he's your friend and also mine, and he's your client. He describes the vibe there as a soul thing. And it is, but it appears not by accident. It's by design. You and your wife, and in fact, we have a photo, a family photo, I like to call it. And if you tell us who's there, it's your beautiful wife, Cinthya, your cousin, Danny Robles. But look at that beautiful, beautiful place. But even though you see everything is gorgeous and culturally delicious, but you can't feel the vibe. Tell us about your wife, your cousin, and everyone works there, and each one has their own area of expertise.
Yes. So my wife, Cinthya, is from Puebla, from Mexico, grew up in New York. And just ever since I met her, tenía un aire de artista. She had like this creativity that I saw and immediately fell in love with. And
she's beautiful.
Yes, she's very beautiful. And the mother of our daughter, Frida, who's 3 years old, beautiful. And so when we first met, Cinthya spoke to me about some past experiences she had with sharing her art work with folks, and them not being as receptive to her creativity, her voice that she had with her sort of expression of what she wanted to do. And we got married and moved to Orange County, to California. And the first thing that I did was make sure that we had one room that was dedicated to her, to Cinthya's vision and art and paintings. And for me, that was something that I always wanted to nurture, because I saw so much in Cinthya and in her creativity. And I'm sure we'll expand on that as well.
We're going to meet Cinthya in a little while, and about their New York experience, and we will
Yeah.
talk about that. But
Yeah.
before we go there, let's talk about Danny. What does your primo Danny do?
So Danny is, we come from a smaller family, I would say, and not necessarily in numbers, but as the amount of cousins que se juntan. And so Danny, myself, and my brothers and his brother were the cousins who hung out the most and were always together. Don't really know much of the rest of my family. And so Danny and I grew up together and have always gone on adventures, be it business or whatever else.
It's the whatever else I'd like to hear about, but perhaps it's best not. It's a family program.
Yes, maybe after this happy hour goes on a little bit, couple more sips of that martini, maybe.
But I want to talk about your custom hat makers, of course, but the Pachuco Supply Company is much more, and you're very dedicated, as Danny is and as Cinthya are, about cultural pride and Chicano pride, and you do that not only in your custom made hats, but obviously the creative space that you work in, and a lot of that came from your dad, right? You're very close to your dad, Gilberto.
Yes, I was very, very close to my dad. We would work together because he had a small construction company, and I would help him out on the weekends, or just basically whenever he would ask me to. I wasn't gifted academically, so I didn't go to school as much as I should have. But I always had a working spirit that came from my father. He, to me, is someone who is Chicano self-determination. He is someone who taught me a lot about rascuachismo in the positive term, making do with what we have, and just making better situations out of situations that may not necessarily be positive for a lot of folks. And so a lot of the design, a lot of the art that I have up at Pachuco Supply is from my upbringing, working on construction sites, not necessarily knowing how to use the tools, but knowing that the job had to get done. So building this place basically from scratch, because it was a completely empty warehouse, using and upcycling old vintage pieces and scrap wood and scrap metal, really for me was a connection to my father, because that's what we would do. When we had free time, we would just build stuff.
And we have a photo of your dad. He was always sporting a lowrider fedora, right?
Yeah.
We have a photo there. Now,
Yes.
was he himself a Pachuco? Because a lot of the calo that you use sometimes you got from your dad.
Yeah, and so sometimes I find myself using calo and not even knowing, or I didn't at the time know where this came from. I always thought, like, look out. I always thought in Spanish it was wacha. I didn't know, I always figured that look alive and be aware of your surroundings was trucha in Spanish, but it was calor. And so my father immigrated from Sonora at a very young age, grew up around Arizona, Southern California, was a strawberry picker, and spent a lot of time in the fields, but unfortunately also spent a lot of time in and out of prisons. I wouldn't call him necessarily a cholo because he wasn't from a gang. From my memory growing up, he was always sort of a lone wolf. But I think a lot of that lingo, a lot of that dialect came from his upbringing as well, growing up in a border town. So I wouldn't say necessarily that he would be a Pachuco in the traditional sense, but in the sense of the word that describes self-respect and care about your appearance and respect for everyone else as well. I believe he was.
And where was your mom during all this?
So my mom is also from Mexico. She's from Yahualica. She was a home, what would you call it, a housewife, growing up, took care of the family, very, very, very hard worker, super into interior design, and not really a fan of cooking, but really, really into interior design. So the house was always beautiful, and I always felt like we were rich and we lived in a castle because of the way that she would fix up the houses or our houses that we would live in, because we did bounce around from different places. But together, yeah. Until
You had a very strong sense of family.
Yes, family to me is the most important and sacred thing in my life. The reason why I work so hard is for my family.
For your beautiful wife and your beautiful little girl. She's got to be beautiful because look at the two of you. I've never met her, but I want to back up a little bit to calor, which if we have gringos watching, and I'm sure we do, it was its own language that the Pachucos used. It wasn't English, it wasn't Spanish, it was not Spanglish. It was just its own. And let me tell you, only someone who speaks calor would know what the hell you're talking about, because right? There's nothing that you say, oh, that must mean. There's not even, you used one word a moment ago, and I have a little thing that comes with your hat. And what does that mean exactly? You used that word a few minutes ago.
Ponte trucha. It means be sharp. It means be alert. My dad, as someone who grew up in the prison system, he knew that I had to be very aware of my surroundings, understanding the cards I was dealt, and knowing that you just have to be savvy, not just street savvy, but savvy in a lot of different things. And so ponte trucha to me is that it's be aware, know your surroundings, but not necessarily in not necessarily as far as danger, but also know how you can adapt and know how you can expand your knowledge.
Survive.
Yes, yeah.
You did because we're going to get to how we got to the hats and how that became your world, and it's really quite a story. But before we do, you tried a lot of things in your youth, which is not unusual for a young man. You had a rock punk band. You were in a dance company doing danza azteca.
Yes.
And at one point, for a good chunk of time, you were in the bar industry.
Yeah,
which is an interesting kind of thing. You did that for a good many years, and you bounced between LA, Mexico City, and New York a great deal.
yes.
And you picked up a lot of things from there, including one trip to Mexico, which maybe kicked off the whole hat thing.
Yes. Yeah, so the bar world helped me out tremendously. I may not, to someone who is watching this, come off as an introvert, but I very, 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 very much am. And so there was something about having that, those 4 feet of wood table in front of me that made me come alive. And so working at a bar really helped me come out of my shell. I was a kid who was from, or is from Anaheim, who wouldn't go to Santana or wouldn't go to Fullerton, just stay in the, the two, within 2 streets, 2 blocks of where I grew up most of my life. And one day, the neighborhood started changing, even worse than it already was. And I lost a couple friends, and I lost some more friends to drugs. And so I said, you know what, I have to leave, and I have to be brave, because I'm such an introvert. I'm terrified. I wasn't agoraphobic, but just about terrified of leaving Orange County. And I got up, I moved to Atlanta, I started working at a bar, and started my career as a bartender, mixologist, hyper focusing on Mexican spirits. And that really helped me out. But before that, I took one trip to Mexico City, and alone, and that was eye-opening, and also encouraging that I could leave. I could leave. I could go anywhere and get along with folks. And yeah,
And did
it
you
was.
feel a strong cultural connect when you were in Mexico City?
Yeah, so there's something about the Southwest, and also Mexico, and even Guatemala when I lived in New York. I felt if this was, a flame, I felt que se me apagó. And not for, not anything against New York, because it's lovely people, and it's a lovely city, but something in me was extinguished spiritually. And I would feel that flame reignite when I would travel. I would land in Albuquerque, or I would land in Colorado or Arizona. Something about that tierra reignited the fire inside my belly of culture and inspiration. And I didn't have that when I was living in the East Coast, unfortunately. And I feel that when I landed in Mexico City and in Oaxaca as well. And I mentioned Guatemala. So there's something about that, we would say maybe.
The tierra, it's in the dirt, it's in the air. I mean, it's palatable.
Yeah, and so for someone who doesn't know what I'm saying, the best way that I could describe it is, after being away from home for so long, opening the door and walking into the living room of your mother's house. That feeling of everything's
Safe.
okay.
You're safe.
Yeah.
And during these tours of going city to city, why did you start kind of used to go to, I love swap meets and flea markets and all that myself. I do that a lot. But you started to collect hats, and there was one trip to Ciudad de Mexico. We no longer say DF, as you know. Yeah. Yeah, Pochos, you don't know nothing. So and you there was a hat maker, and there were all these hats being thrown out, and you took them back to New York. What the hell was that about?
Well, so I saw this pile of hats that were going to otherwise be unused, and I was looking at them, and I was like, man, these hats have attitude. They've been worn. It's something like like a nice piece, like a nice pair of dusty jeans, or something about them. Boots that are well worn in. A hat for me as well was so I saw those, and I'm like, like what are these pieces? And like, oh, that's trash. Don't worry about it. Like, let's look at these new hats. And I was talking to the hatter, and maybe sell me those. Maybe sell me those old hats that you're not going to use anymore. And so I picked those up, and I brought them back home to our small apartment in Borough Park, by bedside. Yeah, in Brooklyn.
Cinthya, you were already with Cinthya at that time.
Yes, yes. Cinthya and I had a what was it? 600, 500 square feet apartment in Brooklyn. Very, very small. Yeah, with bed was right next to the refrigerator.
And you brought all these hats in there.
Yeah, about 30 big hats. I mean, they're not small, they do take up space. And we were already we didn't have a closet. So we just had a rack there of our clothing, and we love clothes. So we didn't have any space. We had no space. And so we just made room. And we had we still have, but at the time we had a very, very tiny kitten that was rambunctious. His name is Pancho. He's still running around over here somewhere. But yeah, too many people, or two people and one very, very.
I guess I should ask Cinthya, who we're going to bring on in a minute, but I will ask you, what did she think when you walked in with all these hats, and what is it you expected to do with all these hats? You certainly didn't think, I'm going to be a hat maker.
No, no, I need constantly an outlet of expression. And for me, the piece wasn't necessarily going to be that, but it ended up being that. I initially got these hats to, I don't know, just have a larger collection. And you know, you one day you go to a flea market and you see, oh, this guy has 30 suits from the 70s, and they're amazing, and one's yellow, one's red, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, I'll take them all. So that's what it was at first. And then I started an Instagram page. And
that early you started.
Yeah, I started an Instagram page, just subtly dropping hints that I was doing something, but not necessarily explaining what it was. And I started to get a lot of inquiries from folks who wanted to buy these hats.
Wow. Just strangers who saw you on Instagram.
Strangers and friends.
And you're into
friends.
Mostly friends. Yeah, but you went through a period where you were making them and giving them away, and that was maybe we should bring Cinthya in, because I think we need Cinthya.
We gotta beautify this this screen here.
There we go. Listen, hi, darling. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy that I met you guys. I'm telling you, 2 minutes in there and I met you both. I thought they got to do the happy hour, and here you are. We didn't waste any time. So thank you, Jose Mayorguin. By the way, your segment's going to air in June, so we'll tell everybody so on Vista LA. But now, what did you think? Well, first of all, you were born in Puebla, grew up in Brooklyn, but you wanted to be a fashion designer.
Yes.
And that couldn't happen, and why?
That didn't happen because I was an immigrant that was brought as a child, and I didn't really know what that meant. I went to school, I graduated, and then when it came to going to college, I tried to apply, and they were like, do you have papers? I was like, I didn't really necessarily knew what that meant, but I was like, I asked my mom, I'm like, oh, they're asking me for all these papers, and she's like, no, mija, like you're an immigrant. And
you went all through school and didn't know that till you applied to college.
Oh, yeah, because you don't really need a social security for work, because I was 14, 15, 17 when I graduated. So when it came to college, it was like, oh, you can't go to college. I wanted to go to FIT in New York.
Sure. Fashion Institute of Technology.
Yes. So that was, it just kind of hit me. I was like, okay, so what? And that was before DACA ever happened. So I was like, I have nowhere, I was hopeless. It was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't do it because I don't have papers, but I did sketch here and there, but also like as they dim my light, I was like, that's it for me. I don't know what else I can do. And I started working in the service hospitality, restaurants. And then I also wanted to become a bartender, but I kind of stayed into serving and cocktail serving. And then that's where I also learned about hospitality, wanted to eventually become a bartender. And then I met Mr. Gilbert here.
Yeah, as soon as you started saying hospitality bars, I thought, that's where they met. Well,
You cracked the code.
That's not how we met, but
how did you meet? Is that a good story?
Yes, it's a fun story.
Is it a short story?
I'll make it short.
Okay, hit it.
Used to make beautiful cocktails and post them on Instagram. And there was a cocktail that he made with Fanta. No, was it Fanta?
Yeah.
Yes, it was Fanta. And it was a mezcal Fanta cocktail. I was like, this guy, or I didn't even know it was a guy. I was like, I love this cocktail. I instantly follow him. And then he followed me back. And I clicked on his Instagram and I was like, wow, he's very talented and very good looking.
Wow.
And then we started talking from there. It was just
so you guys actually met not on a dating site online, but through Instagram and
Yeah.
yeah.
I see a long, happy marriage. There's no question. Right?
Yeah.
Wow. But what did you think when he came home with all these hats in this teeny little apartment? What did you think?
I was like, first of all, you're crazy.
Number one.
What are we gonna do with all of this? And he was like, don't worry, I got this. And I was like, okay. I would go to work and
you bought it. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And he made like a little station, meaning like a small table, and like he's burning tools and like I don't know, he's tools. And I would go to work and come back and I would get home pretty late. And he was like with a light working on hats. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what's the end goal with this? And he's like, I got something in my mind. Just like, let me work. I got this. And then the more he did it, I was like, wow, like he's so talented. And it was like something, he always loved hats. He always wore hats. And when he started making hats, I was like, oh, can you make me one? And then he made me one and I loved it. It was probably not the best hat now compared to what he does now, but I loved it. And he just kept doing it. And he eventually pulled me into hat making. And I fell in love with it too. It's something about art. I always wanted to be an artist one way or other. And I feel like making hats and just creating hats, it was like, this is a really good way to express myself one way or other. And
that's right.
Here we are.
And you said it somewhere, Gilbert, where you said your canvas is a hat. I mean, it's not a paintbrush. And we're going to see a video of you in a second. In fact, I wonder if I'm going to jump ahead because I'm so riveted here. We have well, first of all, wait, let's go back again. See, this is very informal, como te dije, right? When did you guys decide together or one that this could be a viable way to make a living? I mean, it wasn't just a hobby, that you really had something here. And did that indeed prompt the move to California so you could have more space than 500 square feet? When did that moment come, and what was that light bulb moment like?
Yeah, so I spoke to Danny on the phone.
Danny Robles.
Yeah, my cousin, my partner in the company. I spoke to Danny and told him my idea, and he basically said, you know what, I believe in it, let's do it. And it just did not make sense for me to continue living in the East Coast. Como te dije, tenía la flama apagada.
Right.
But I had this little spark still sitting there with these hats, and I also I missed my mother and my nephews, who to me reminded me of what I or who I was at their age, and I knew that I could be as important an influence in their life as my father was in mine, which gave me my working spirit. So all of these things made sense. We had a duplex that was for rent, and it had a working space, a garage. It had a working space, and it was 10 minutes from Danny's house. Cinthya and I were obviously living together, and so it made perfect sense to, collaborate and come together and try to make this a viable business. We didn't know it was a viable business until we got some celebrities hitting us up about getting some custom made hats. And so when
Including
that
Madonna,
happened,
including
yes,
Madonna.
yes, that for me was the stamp.
The
Okay,
focal.
you're a real
That was the
business.
focal.
Yeah.
Wow. Now we're going to talk about the future of it, because I know you signed something very important this week, and we'll talk about it in a second. But talk us through the process of making a hat, because it is indeed an art. It is indeed an art, because you do them by hand. And I have a short, because I took, while Jose was doing his professional thing, I have my little iPhone. So I have one of you doing a little bit on a hat that we're going to show here.
Okay.
That's where you're trimming it.
Yes. Yeah. So here I was just trimming some ribbon to make your hat band. And yes, each portion of the production is done by hand. I use a sewing machine only for some portions of it, but everything else is an iron and heat and steam and just the power of your hands. We start off with fur felt, and with a lot of steam and pressure, mold those to old style blocks, blocks that at the beginning of hat making have been around. And essentially a dome, a wooden dome that I stretch the fur felt over.
And at one point you set the hat on fire. What is that?
Yeah, so when we set the hat on fire, it's basically getting rid of all the flyaway hairs, and also connecting those fibers, those hair fibers together, and they start to bind a little bit more. So it does two things. It makes the hat a little bit more rigid and slightly stronger, and it also burns away those flyaway hairs that you don't really want.
We have a couple of photos that show off not only your work, but Cinthya's work, and we'll talk about what she does. Look at this work. Is that gorgeous? That is an amazing hat. And the handiwork, that drawing is you, right, Cinthya?
Everything is done by hand.
And we have one other, which I love, the nopal. Look at that.
Yeah. So all of those pieces are done with a wood burner, actually, I'm sorry, a soldering iron. Just your conventional soldering iron, heat iron with a hot needle, and that just goes into the fur felt, and it burns, and that's what happens to the fibers. It creates little marks.
And I happen to take a little video of that too, Cinthya. Do we have that there, Abelardo? And here is the hat.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yes.
And I don't look good in hats, but I think I look pretty good in this one.
Yeah, I love
I
it.
got my little feather.
Yes, yes.
And your work, which is very subtle here, because you can put anything on, you custom made it to what the person makes. And we decided to put the title of one of Dad's songs from Zoot Suit, Vamos a Bailar. So here it does say Vamos a Bailar. And I've been wearing this, and I've been getting compliments. In fact, my good friend Madonna, no, I'm kidding. But I love it. Yeah. So I love it very much. Now, your hats are, we have another photo of a fellow who wears it better than I do, I think. Pero
yes.
Look at that.
Yes. Yeah. That for me, we all know Eddie. You called him. I would call him Edward James almost, because I don't know him personally.
I call him Eddie.
Yes. And we know the history there. And for me, one thing that I've mentioned before is really what we're trying to do, the three of us, is etch out our rinconcito in Chicano history. I don't know if we'll do it. I don't know if we've done it. I don't know what's going to happen, but that has been the goal ever since I first realized how important Chicano art and culture is through my father coming in to a small hole in the wall taqueria in Orange County. I think it was in Santana, pointing at a mural with some lowriders and Pancho Villa, and telling me who Pancho Villa was, and lowriders, and the importance of murals and art. So ever since then, every career path I've taken, I've been trying to do something in the Chicano world. And it's interesting to see what's happening now through this hat company. Those degrees of separation are closing and getting closer and closer together, where I idolize and spend hours and hours and hours of my life, years, listening to your father's music, and to be able to come on, and then also wanted to say thank you for the beautiful pair of cufflinks worn by your father. It was so amazing that I was actually able to use that for this hat here.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Oh, I'm so, he did wear those. As I said, they were never expensive because my mother used to buy really good ones. He'd wear them once and lose them. So
I had a wedding ring on. It was a silicone one. I had it on today.
Oh,
But
that
I
is
won't lose it.
fantastic. I
So
love
I have to attach the jewelry to something big like a hat, or else it's not going to work.
Fantastic.
So
Cinthya said you would use it, because I said, I don't know if you ever use, she said, oh, he'll use it. So, oh, I'm so, he'd be happy too. He would be happy too.
And so to see that, and Edward and Dolores and folks wearing the hats, and it resonating with folks I admire, is really, for me, what has been the payoff. It's never been about financial gain. It's been about expression of art, perpetuation of what my interpretation of Chicano art, our interpretation. And actually interesting, because Cinthya, you're from Mexico, but we start to identify a little bit more as Chicanos now, or Chicanas.
Well, for me, it's like I was raised in the United States most of my life, and as I was learning Spanish in Mexico, it was a sudden change to a non-ESL, just full English school. And it was like a force. I was forced to learn another language, and I sort of didn't finish learning Spanish, and then I got pushed to a new language. So my Spanish is like 75, my English is like 60, 50. It's like, ¿de dónde estoy? I don't feel like I'm from there, because they'll make fun of my Spanish. And here they make fun of my accent. So it's like, no soy, a veces me siento no soy ni de aquí ni soy de allá.
I know, but and it's sad, because we should think that we have both, but in a way we have neither. You know? Although that's changing, that is changing. And you know what? The word Chicano, I understand, is being used. It's not, in the strictest sense, you're Mexican American or Mexican roots, but it's spreading. I'm told it's now being used as a word of empowerment. Eugenia Leon, who is a fabulous Mexican singer, right? And when I screened Dad's documentary, in Mexico, the first Chicano film festival ever in Mexico City. And Eddie and I and a group flew down, we cut the red ribbon, blah, blah. And the documentary on Dad opened the festival. And I invited Eugenia. And afterwards, she says in Spanish, now I understand how I feel. I'm a Chicana. I'm a Chicana. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, what are you talking about? You're Mexicana, you're not a Chicana, but it's a state of mind. It's a whole other thing, you know. And she absolutely said, now I understand why maybe she felt a little out of this or out of that, but she absolutely said to me, I now understand I'm a Chicana, which I thought, so it's a state of, it's not just blood or language.
It's interesting that you say that we felt like we were neither, instead of feeling like we were both.
Right.
And that's something that I started to, and Cinthya, you know, when I get in my moods,
But you're an artist, it's okay. You're an
I get in my moods and we're on the freeway, and I turn on Lalo Guerrero Los Angeles, or the Chicano, Yo Soy Chicano, or Raza, it's Yo Soy Chicano, right?
Yo soy
La Raza de
Chicano,
Oro.
señores,
Yeah.
nací al lado del mexicano.
Yeah, so that's when I started. These folks are very, very important to us, because they've opened my eyes to it, and I try to show my nephews this, and to be proud of the fact that we are both I'm not this and I'm not that, and that's really interesting that you say that. Thank you, because it's an important way to think about it. Otherwise we just feel not as empowered.
That's right. That's right. So this little paper you signed earlier in the week, were you nervous when you signed it? And tell us what it was, because it talks about the future of the Pachuco Supply Company.
Yes. So with any major step, there's a lot of nerves always.
Sure.
And so we just signed a new lease to our very first standalone building, brick and mortar, where previously at the building that you mentioned that you visit earlier, this low street.
It was scary. It was scary.
And so with all of that in mind, I knew that we had to provide something for our customers to come in and really feel at home, as at home you feel when you walk through those doors. As soon as you drive into the parking lot, I believe is what we would like it to be. And so this place has parking. So we signed a lease to a new spot in Los Angeles, off of Cesar Chavez Avenue and Mission. So we will be opening up next month there.
Next month. Wow. No
Yes.
wonder you're
Oh,
nervous.
yeah. Oh no, yeah, we thrive off pressure. Pressure.
So you're going to have a big opening. You're going to have a big opening with music and everything, right? Lowriders.
Yes.
Oh,
All of
that'll
this.
be fun.
We don't have a shortage of people saying, hey, just let me know when you want the cars and we'll bring them out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm super excited about that. Super excited about that. And also to know that the building owner was looking for creatives to move into that building, because there was a lot of industrial companies that wanted to come in there. And so as a Chicano, Chicana, Chicanex, or brown owned company, it's for me, it's great to know that we're keeping that culture alive, though we're doing something slightly different, and we're at least we're keeping that alive on Cesar Chavez Avenue.
Fantastic. And what a perfect place to be on Avenida Cesar Chavez, which used
right.
to be Brooklyn Avenue, and you grew up in
Yes.
Brooklyn. So it's all happening, right? Wow.
Manifesting.
Oh, well, I salute your new place, your new digs.
You.
Here you are.
Yeah, you have yours.
You have one?
Yeah, we have some.
Perfect. Here's to the Pachuco Supply Company and to Frida, little Frida.
Thank you.
She's got cheers to grandma for taking care of her while we're doing this.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure she's very happy to do it. I'm sure she's happy to do it.
The canas are
Abelardo, come on, Abelardo. So are they delicious or what? Hello?
Oh, you're talking to me.
Yeah, you're the only Abelardo here.
Yes, I am, as far as I know. Yeah, they're wonderful. Such incredible talent and such good people. I feel a lot of positive energy from the both of you and a lot of creativity as well. And do you custom make hats by any chance?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
All right.
Yes, they do.
Custom made, custom made.
You should do a display at La Plaza. You could have, because that's art.
Yes,
You
it
know,
is.
early in the beginning of the company, came to Taste of Mexico, and I'm looking forward to Taco Madness. By the way, get your tickets. Javier is doing this, so get your tickets to Taco Madness, please. I'm looking forward to showing up to that. Always. I have such a deep respect for these sort of buildings and these sort of places that are safe spaces for Chicano art and Mexican art and art from Los Angeles. Also like the Cheech. I have such a respect for these buildings. So and the folks who run them. One of these days, I hope to be worthy of doing something like that.
Well, we'll
You
keep that,
will.
keep that option open. I'll talk to Jimena. We have
We'll get it,
Sara,
we'll get it, we'll get
yes,
it, we'll get it.
Sara Ledesma here on Facebook. She's asking, first of all, she says you have an amazing talent and Cinthya is an incredible woman. We are all unique and proud. And she asks, how do you envision to incorporate your talents to the rest of the world? Not only to your products, but to understand your history.
Yes. So I believe that specificity is universality. I am very specific to who I am. Cinthya is with her portion of the art. We're very, very specific. We do get commissions, we do get custom hats, but it's always through our lens. Danny as well. So, but specificity, I believe, is the key here. Telling our story is going to be the key to that. We have customers in Japan, Ukraine, Switzerland, Australia, China,
France.
Japan, France, who love what we're doing and our interpretation of hat making. And I believe most of them are probably fans of Chicano art as well. So just being very specific to who we are, I think, is going to be the key, because now more than ever, folks want to know who is making their food, where does their food come from, their furniture, everything. People are so conscious of what they're purchasing that if I and Cinthya and Danny and Pachuco Supply as a whole are very transparent as to who we are and authentic, I think that'll be the key.
Now, as you grow, you can't make every bloody hat. You're going to have to train new people to make them by hand, or what? How are you going to do that growth?
In my head, I'm thinking, yeah, I can.
Cinthya, mija, you gotta wake him up here.
He does not know what a day off is. He does not know. He works 24/7, and even when he's at home, it's like in his mind. He's
Sure.
like, he's an overthinker, and he's working hard in his brain, and I already know that. So about hiring, who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
the goal is to have my vision come to life, have our vision come to life. And so if we can do that, then the sky's the limit. What we want to not do, or we want to stay away from, is maybe our vision getting a little muddy. So just staying focused.
Because really, this has been, I'm sure it doesn't feel quick, but you founded the company when, and you moved into that space when? Fairly recent, really.
Yes, 2018 is when I purchased those hats. Yeah, like late 2017, 2018 is when I purchased those hats. And yeah, what year is it?
I mean,
Yeah.
that's incredible. It may not seem short because you're worried, but that's very little time. And look how far you've come. So yeah. I see, Abelardo, you better be nice because they're big time.
Okay. Well, I guess we're lucky to have them before they really hit it big. But
That's right. That's right. Anybody else have a chat that you want to deal with? Or
sure, we have Alma Hernandez. She's saying, hello, I'm happy to be here. Congratulations for the hard work. Amazing.
Muchas gracias, Alma.
Thank you. Gracias.
And then Christina Anguiano, she says, beautiful work.
Thank
And
you.
it truly is. I mean, check
It
out the
is.
website. I put the links on the comment section and on the chat feature there.
Yeah.
You gotta click on it and really enjoy the artistry, the creativity, the beauty of these hats.
Yeah.
And what's calo for hat?
What?
What? Repeat that, please.
Oh,
No,
I've
what did you
heard tango. Tango.
There you go. Now we know.
Calo is too complicated. When I did the documentary on Dad, and there was one song early, he first started the Pachuco songs with a trio imperial before he did the solo songs used in Zoot Suit, and I was using a clip in the documentary, and he talks at one point all in Calo. Well, it might have has been Mandarin. So who do I email? So I emailed Luis Valdez. I thought if anybody knows how to translate Calo, it's going to be Luis. And so he did. And I looked at it and I thought, well, it has absolutely nothing to do. I couldn't connect any word to what the Calo is. I mean, it's really it's a language unto itself.
I remember when I first moved to LA, California, my husband and Danny would talk in Calo, and I was like, what is that? I've never heard of that. And it was really confusing. I'm like, is it because they're norteño? I didn't really understand. So now when they say a few words, I'm like, okay, now I know what they mean. Before that, I had no clue. And it sounded very interesting.
I remember my dad said they used to call Phoenix Phoenike. Now, how Phoenix and Phoenike, how would you put he means Phoenix. I mean, it's really, they knew what they were doing. Any last word, Abelardo, other than adios?
Well, Holly Lynn Purser, a very loyal viewer of Dan Guerrero Happy Hour, says, thanks for sharing. Wow.
Thank you. That's nice. That's nice. I am so thrilled. I just fell in love with you both because you're very special spirits, which is why that place felt like Oz when I walked in there. And now the job is to keep that same feeling in a bigger space and with more, but I have no doubt that you will do that. So thank you so much. I toast you both and have a good evening. And I will see you in your new digs pretty soon.
Yes, you will.
Please.
Yes, please.
Bye.
All right.
Salud.
Thank you so much.
Gracias.
Abelardo, hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista. Nos vemos pronto en 2 semanas.
Okay, we'll see you at Taco Madness, maybe.
We will be there, yes. So thank you so much to the both of you for joining us today on Casa con la Plaza, Dan Guerrero Happy Hour. And of course, Dan, to making it all happen. Yeah, please join us at Taco Madness this weekend. It's on Saturday. You could purchase your tickets via Eventbrite or go to our website, lapca.org, and just click on the little image there of Taco Madness and buy yourself some tickets and eat yourself some tacos and everything. A lot of great entertainment, some artwork, and much more. And then the following weekend, Dancing with Dolores fundraiser honoring the magical Dolores Huerta on her 93rd birthday. You could get those tickets via DoloresHuerta.net. So you could check them out there.
And all the proceeds go to her foundation, right?
All the proceeds go to the Dolores Huerta Foundation. And it's incredible how active Dolores is. Much respect for her on her special day. Let's see, at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, we have our exhibitions going on. Of course, we're open from Wednesday through Sunday from 12 to 5. Admission is free. La Plaza Cocina, it's closed for the moment. We're installing a brand new exhibition that opens on May 13th, Recetario para la Memoria, an incredible photo exhibit of the favorite recipes of unfortunate people that have disappeared in Mexico, in memory of them cooked by their families. So it's a great exhibit, very powerful, as is the one that at La Plaza Hostel Terrain 94, the Undocumented Migration Project. So please come on down. As I said, it's free. If it's raining, you got someplace to cool down for a little while. La Tiendas is also opened, so purchase your stuff there. And with that, I'm gonna say good night. Muy buenas noches.
Buenas
Dan.
noches.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
All right, good
Gracias.
night.
Bye-bye.
Gracias. Bye.
Hasta la próxima. Bye-bye.